This episode of the Council on Future Conflicts was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today is what is today? Monday. More Monday, coming off of a fairly uneventful weekend. No big deal, as always. Today's show is going to be about it's a new race, talking about the presidential election, and Israel strikes Yemen. All of this can be found on episode 399 of the Council on Future Conflict. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, one and all. Welcome, chat. Hope everybody's doing good. Seems like the chat is activated and in fine mood. Joe, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm good. After a very long day of driving yesterday, I find myself in Fargo, North Dakota. I will point out that crossing the Mississippi in northern Minnesota is far less impressive than doing it around, say, Minneapolis, St. Paul, or further south. It was more of a stream where we crossed yesterday versus the giant, mighty Mississippi. So anyway, we're working our way west for all the good events that'll be going on. The Community Security Ops class and the Shield Field Days. Lots of good things going on.
Absolutely.
And we do have a live studio audience here with me today. So,
speaking of Shield Field Days, Stan, welcome to the program. Hope
you're
doing well. Your weekend was good.
Yeah, my weekend was interesting. Not often that you get to watch a beer hall pooch live on X. So we'll save this for later. But we are in peril. So
and
speaking of field days, yeah, I mean there are a few better places to ride out the coming storm than Camp Ponderosa. So if you're so inclined, go to the website. I guess we can put that link in the chat or wherever and sign up.
Yeah, if any of our mods are on the horn, just throw that up in the chat. We appreciate that. We're still by the way, we are live on both YouTube and Rumble. I think we'll probably keep it on and X, and we will probably keep it on. Yeah, let's be honest. I don't feel like we're going to get that spicy. I mean, I don't know what we can talk about that would be controversial today. So there we go.
This weekend or the last couple of weeks have proven beyond doubt that X is the indispensable platform in today's world.
That's true.
Correct.
I watched a live stream that I haven't paid any attention to for several months. I watched it on Sunday. One of the discussions that they had was that, and all the guys on the panel were all YouTubers. and they were saying how, like, if you had just mentioned COVID back during the COVID days, or if you mentioned certain topics, over the last couple of years, you would just immediately get demonetized, you get struck, or, all kinds of negative things. The kind of things that we, started pulling episodes down for, and the things that would cause us to go over to Bongino's, right? And they were expressing that, like, now, for whatever reason, especially after the breakdown at the debate, and then now the subsequent assassination attempts, nobody's getting struck, and nobody's, at least on YouTube. I mean, there's certain things like violent content and stuff like that that'll get you, but some of the political speech is not, because it's I don't know. It's
I literally just said it, man. They took a shot at the king, missed.
They missed.
Shattered the Overton window.
Exactly
It's
right.
gone. No, it is. You've noticed in like every arena, it's gone. There is none. You're acceptable to have just about any right-wing opinion now.
That brings up a point that my buddy Mark Antsy Pattern over on Twitter brings up every day, and I brought up yesterday. Do not let that fade into obscurity. They attempted to kill that man on national television right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them let that go away. Mention it every single day.
And not only that, they try to justify it by saying that he's a threat to democracy. And
as I said, it was the intended result of the last 3 months of coverage. And if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be all they were talking about. So don't let them let it fade into obscurity.
So this new cycle is going to be hard.
Yeah, I've just come now to basically posting the front page of the New York Times of the Warren Commission report as a metaphor for all of this stuff. That's what's coming. It's the FBI, DHS, whatever ATF investigation is going to be. Crooks acted alone.
Well, the interesting thing, I wonder if the cover-up machine that was invented basically, in the post-World War II era, if the cover-up machine can keep up with the leaks on X, right, and X is intransient with working with the government. Go ahead.
Hear what I say here. They're going to say with these encrypted bank accounts and phones, Russia, guaranteed.
It's Telegram that they're going after with this. Absolutely.
Is that why?
No,
that's correct.
I don't think anybody's going to believe that Putin tried to take out Trump. I mean, come on.
No.
Listen, nobody on our side. Nobody on our side. But the other side would already believe it because they want to.
Anything that's slightly believable, I think they'll believe, such as the fact that Pete has finally decided to come home. Welcome to the prodigal son. Pete, how are you doing, brother?
Still pretty good. Just had to take a little time off. Wife's pregnant, and so with that comes, some responsibilities that you have to take care of.
Amen, brother.
Yep. And beyond that, everything's pretty good. Got some job interviews lined up for this coming week, and things are pretty good. So my health is pretty steady, not too wonky, but doing pretty good. Just I really want off this ride. That is this news cycle.
I know. May you live in interesting times, right?
Yeah. What would they say? Like, how many historical events can you really live through?
Sniper, how are you doing today?
Well, this is going to be an interesting audio test.
Yeah, you seem okay. You cut out a little bit at the beginning, but the last part was good.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. But doing pretty well this morning. Definitely could use a little extra coffee. We are going to have an interesting month. And I think we're going to talk a lot about that today, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, and you're referring to basically a little more than a month till we get to the convention.
DNC.
So that's what we will be talking about that. I've got links for that, guys, but if there's anything specific you want to talk about, just drop the link in the private chat and we'll make sure we kind of get it into the rotation when we get there. And Watcher in the Dusty West.
The Rees will be heard from space.
Are we good? Watcher, are we good from our disagreement over graphic design choices? Or
No,
for you. I'm coming for you. Yeah, man. We're good. Although I will say you're probably right. We should probably just start as a rule doing a set thing to our thumbnail before we put it in there. But I'll talk more to you about that later. Hey, for those of you who didn't pay attention, you're not following me on X. What's wrong with you? B, go look around you, get on Google Maps or whatever alternative you use, and look up Motor Raceway. Take your kids to a local dirt track. There is one because there are aspiring racers in your area. They're everywhere. Go take your kids out. It is an incredibly cheap event. It is a ton of fun. I can't name a single more American thing in my life. Personally, I am going to be trying to figure out how to start participating, at least in the lower levels of racing that's going on here, just to try and help.
That's what you need. One more thing to do, Watcher. One more thing to do.
You know what? Listen, I'm sorry, but
can I just say I was.
No. You can't, because it's my turn, and you can say it after I'm done. Listen, okay. Joe. There was a moment when we were standing in the bleachers and watching the award ceremony for one of the lower leagues, and my daughter goes, I hadn't said a word about wanting to do this yet. My daughter goes, "Dad, you should do this. This would be so freaking cool. I'd be so proud if you won." I was sold. That was it. I've wanted to do it my whole life, but that was literally like, straw broken, camel's back. We're doing this.
Good for you.
I was extremely jealous of you the whole time you were talking about that.
Yeah, man. It's cheap. It's everywhere. And I do mean like everywhere. My town has less than 12,000 people, and we've got one.
You know, that's the interesting thing, and it could be any number of things, right? It can be what you're talking about, Watcher, or it could be BMX bike racing.
Heck yeah.
You know, or it can be anything.
Baseball,
sports, dance competition, dance club or whatever. You know, like some sort of activity to get your kids involved in that. A, gets them outside of the house and away from the devices. B, hopefully it helps support their kind of physical training or something like that. And C, it socializes them with other people.
That's it exactly. We've been trying to have our kids make friends their age for a very long time, and it's been hard to do for years. We go out there. My daughter makes like 5 friends within 2 minutes, and my kid is playing with a bunch of kids his age on a bunch of scrap tires and stuff. It reminded me of what life was like when I was growing up, and it's very rare to find environments like that in the modern world.
Yeah, well said. All right, gents. Let's jump into it, shall we? As always with the odds and ends, we'll kind of focus on some stuff that's not domestic politics, hopefully. Kenyan police, speaking of domestic politics, I mean, this is, I feel like this is American domestic policy, because the next thing you know, we're going to have like Kenyan police patrolling Michigan or something like that.
Bite your tongue, sir.
Wait. I don't know if you saw this, but there are Qatari paramilitary
in Paris.
In Paris.
In Paris, I saw that. Yeah. I thought about actually putting
who better to help defend against terrorism than the Qataris?
Yeah, if you could find a link to it and put it in the private chat, we'll talk about it in
we need
this
to do a Qatari show. We need to just do a who are they and where is their malign influence spread across the world, because
that's a good point.
Well, right now we're going to talk about the Kenyan police in Haiti. But the Kenyan police began patrols in Haiti, but Haiti's gangs are unperturbed. Haitians are growing frustrated at the lack of action or apparent plan to take on heavily armed criminals. So 700 Kenyan police officers are deployed to the Caribbean nation, the first members of the UN-backed security mission to beat back the heavily armed paramilitaries. So is this basically just Kenyan mercenaries fighting for the UN?
No, it's the Kenyan police.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like...
Well, then aren't all UN troops mercenaries?
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. All in one.
Hey, you said it, not me.
The guy with the UN Civ pole patch, right? Yeah.
You've been on the right side of the pay for play activity. So I mean,
and that was a UN contract, and it was by a private company. Yes. So
yes, I mean. Anyway, let me just kind of get into this a little bit more. We got some videos that we'll talk, so I don't want to read too much of this. Several hundred Kenyan police officers deployed to the Caribbean nation. They could, beat back the heavily armed paramilitaries that control 80% of the capital. The Kenyans, better armed and equipped than Haitian police, are joining their hosts on the street patrols. The gangs who warned they would resist the deployment appear unperturbed. They are still setting homes ablaze, attacking police stations, and killing with impunity. I don't feel the effect of the Kenyan president, says Francois, whose cousin was kidnapped by a gang last year. Nothing has changed in my life, and I don't have increased confidence in my security. I don't understand why the Kenyans are here. Spoken like a true, person who is just, for whatever reason, nobody's listening to him, and he's not listening to the powers that be. And watch it. I got another link underneath this with some video you can play.
All right, just a second.
And so the U.S. is, of course, bankrolling some of this and has provided some Max Pros. So we've got Kenyan police rolling around in American, Iraq War era Max Pros, looking like a bunch of Taliban. Taliban got a lot of these Max Pros when we left. I mean, it's a tool for tool of the trade.
So here's the problem with this, and with the Caribbean and Africa in general, is that these folks are seen by the locals as just another gang, right?
Yeah. What's
traditionally happened in these nations is that the Europeans have come to sort out things and restore security. So European soldiers get a little more respect from the locals than African soldiers do. Good, bad, and different. But that's
how about U.S. Marines?
Hey, the U.S. Marines in Haiti have an incredibly long history.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, Marines ran Haiti for decades, but and I'll point out that Smedley Butler seized the whole country with 130 Marines. But the point being,
hold on a second.
They give more respect to European or Western soldiers in general than they do to African soldiers or even Asians. So,
does that Max Pro have a tow bar connected to the one
they
behind?
They appear to be connected to each other. Yes.
Yeah.
We saw one that works and one that doesn't.
Spare parts are hard to come by.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and they can't get the gate down because the tow bar is in the way.
Oh, this is
a comedy operation.
This is every day we get closer to Mad Max. Every day, it's disconcerting.
Here come the Delta Force operators.
They're not even all in uniform. They're in the same uniforms. Quick, tell me what the word uniform means.
Not this.
An individual interpretation of style. That's what it means.
Drip.
That's
Don't mess with the drip.
I was going to say they could at least have some kind of drippy.
Not the Kenyans. They need to put Captain Ibrahim Traoré in charge of this. He'll take care of business.
I was going to say TIA, but.
Well, how is that not what I said?
I was going to say, you beat me to the punch.
Watch. Do we have? Has anybody found a link to the Qataris in Paris?
No.
They're there. Trust me.
All right. Anyway, it's basically what they're doing is they're bringing in Qatari. I think they're like military police or something like that, helping with presence patrols in Muslim areas of Paris in order to kind of head trouble off at the pass.
Let's take that back. Real. Doesn't have any police that aren't military. So
my understanding is they're recruiting for Hamas while they're there. So.
Two birds, one stone. What a better way.
So I have I take it back. I have now found those articles, but none in English.
Yeah, they're all in French.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I got one.
Yeah, all the stuff that I saw was on X, so I didn't bother to look at French media.
I'm not gonna lie. I totally forgot that there's Olympics this year, and that is in Paris.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's like next. It's like, well, I saw the USA basketball is already playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they won by 1 point,
if you call that playing.
Well, I just saw them playing. I have no idea what the score was because I don't give a shit.
Quote, beat South Jordan by 1 point. Yes.
Authoritarian Qatar puts 2,000 cops and armored cars on the streets of Paris. Say it ain't so. How the mighty have fallen. Is that link? You got the? Yeah, okay. I see it. Let me read a little bit of this here just so we can get the Brussels signal. That's some authoritative news here. 2 weeks before the Olympic Games set to kick off, Paris, Qatari security forces equipped with armored vehicles and urban camouflage arrived in the French capital to help secure the global event. As one Qatari state media reported, the tasks of this force are an extension of the tasks of maintaining security in Qatar. How is that the case? Is France now a colonial possession of Qatar? I mean,
I would say the Middle East as a whole.
Maybe of the what do we call the whole kind of world of Islam? I forgot the term.
The Ummah.
Ummah. There we go. It's a colony of the Ummah.
Reconquest.
Well, I think Germany's going to have to throw off the yoke first. And then they will be happy to reoccupy Paris. All right. Anyway, Joe, by the way, we were talking about drippy uniforms. I'm going to share a link in the private chat.
Joe had to drop for just a second. He'll be back.
Well, anyway, I'll share it. It's about the drippiest uniform I've seen in a while on our friend of the channel, Max Morton.
Do you want to wait for him? Because he is coming back.
I know. I just dropped it in the private chat. I'll share it again.
We'll wait then.
All right. Talking about so this is a couple.
Is Max still enjoying life deep in the swamp of Mississippi?
That's my understanding. You know, he seems to be in fine form. He was very active on X yesterday evening. So
saying what?
Well, you know, just commenting on the world like we all are as it burns.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, you guys, we've been talking about the Philippines and China for a while, specifically the events in and around the Second Thomas Shoal. But in a kind of a break in form, we've had some recent changes here. The Department of Foreign Affairs, this is the Chinese Department of Foreign Affairs on Sunday, said the Philippines and China have reached an understanding on the temporary arrangement for the rotational and resupply missions of daily necessities to the BRP Sierra Madre, which is the boat that's rusting upon you see it there in the image on the Second Thomas Shoal. The BRP Sierra Madre, a dilapidated ship, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so DFA, however, did not elaborate the specifics of the supposed deal. Both sides continue to recognize the need to de-escalate the situation in the South China Sea and manage differences. I wonder if China feels like they're getting a kind of a black eye on this one, and they have decided that they need to.
No.
What do you think it is? You think it's
This is Sun Tzu. This is pick your fight. And what they've done is they've reached a temporary accommodation with the Philippines. They're now going to pivot. And I'm going to tell you guys that we are in grave peril for the next 5 months because of the situation that we have. So I think it's Taiwan's turn in the box, and I think they wanted to neutralize the Philippines so that there's no ongoing conflict there.
Right.
And so I think you're going to start to see a blockade and all the other things we've talked about around Taiwan, because who's going to respond? Kamala? Iraq?
No
Quarantine.
blockade. It's
Well,
simple.
So okay,
Those
so
Coast
Stan,
Guard
that was
action,
exactly kind of my point, right? They want to tamp down any kind of simmering issues with the Philippines while they pivot away for the real business, right?
Has anybody heard what's happening with Vietnam? Have they done the same there?
Yes,
I mean, I
yes,
haven't
because the general secretary of the Vietnamese Communist Party died a couple days
died,
ago.
yeah.
There has been a charm offensive out of Beijing with Hanoi. So they are isolating where they can. They are patching over things where they can, so that the attention can be placed where they want it to be placed, which is also a great sort of distraction as it relates to other things domestically in China, economic and otherwise. So it's now time to reunite the motherland.
So I mean, you're kind of sounds like you're going with the idea that they realize that Trump is essentially going to come into office in about 5 months, and so they got to put the pedal to the metal.
Maybe that's not a certainty either. So all I'm saying is, I think I think it's no deeper than your adversary is in the midst of unparalleled turmoil, domestically, internationally. You guys, don't think for a minute that, or don't miss the fact that the foreign minister of Ukraine is on his way to Beijing today. Okay?
Yeah.
So all things are sort of focused at this particular point. The West is in complete disarray. France, Germany, the UK, right on down the line. The United States just witnessed a putsch, and nobody wants to call it that. And so I think the Chinese are doing what the Chinese have done for 5,000 years. They see this opportunity. I think they're going to act on it. And whether or not Harris or Newsom or Whitmer or Vance is the president in January, I think they see this as an unparalleled opportunity to be able to steal a march on everybody. And coincident with that, Putin will ratchet up what's going on in Ukraine just to keep people occupied there, and the Iranians will ratchet up things with Israel just to keep people pinned down there. So it's I think we are in real peril for the next I'm seriously 5 months. So imagine that we've got some sort of redux of the Great Steel, or the tug and pull around the Great Steel post the election, right? We're still on the glide path that I said 2.5 years ago, Q2 2025.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot more going on here, and the fact that we're starting to see, what was it, 2 weeks ago we had a confrontation with clubs and knives between the Philippine Marines and the Coast Guard, the Chinese Coast Guard. Now all of a sudden we've got this, hey, let's all be friends and let's reduce tensions and dial it back, right? I get the feeling that when you start seeing things like that, more is happening, but not in that location, and so to be determined on that. I think you're on to something, Stan.
Take a look at the link to the that Twitter account that I just posted in the chat.
Okay.
Their comparison to Vietnam being kind of this bellwether type country, as compared to like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Like, just kind of get your thoughts on that.
Let's see. Vietnam is the Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania of the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. needs to have very high-ranking officials. I agree with this. I think that we've got to give them. But ultimately, if we court the Chinese and if we court the Vietnamese and the Chinese court the Vietnamese, we'll never be able to compete.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, Stan, I think it was either you or Jim that was basically talking about how, China's sitting right on top of those guys, and if they want to make their life hell, they can. And if they want to make, turn on the charm offensive, they can do that too.
Well, they're not really trying to make their life hell. What's happening is that a lot of Chinese manufacturing continues to move to Vietnam in anticipation of tariffs from the Trump regime. Period. End of story. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a charm offensive. It's an economic charm offensive too. And there's any number of Vietnamese companies and others, party officials, who are ready, willing, and able to welcome the creation of maquiladoras in Vietnam for the Chinese, because labor cost is lower, et cetera, et cetera. So
I guess it also depends on like how well each country can bury the hatchet with Vietnam.
I honestly don't have any interest in burying the hatchet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just there's a historical, conflict from China, Vietnam, and the U.S. So that's going to be. I think that's going to be a kind of a factor, in that charm offensive.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know if anybody in the world, kind of lets bygones be bygones in the U.S. Right? I mean, some of our closest allies are, former enemies from previous world wars. So.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah,
right.
Und Deutschland.
Deutschland. Yes, that's right. That's right. The rulers of the EU. By the way, have you guys been seeing? Speaking of the EU, I don't want to get too off track, but have you guys seen great talk about the creation of a European military and converting the EU into a military alliance?
Again?
Yeah, it is again. It's Obersturmbannführer von der Leyen and
von der Leyen, the
wet dream of a European army that she can parade around.
Stan, you have way more words. I quite like it.
They'll probably have exceptionally good-looking uniforms.
Hugo Boss, baby, Hugo Boss.
True, very true. Are the Italians involved? Excellent, excellent. You know what? The Italians should lead it. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. They definitely lucked out on the leadership aspect for sure. All right.
Yeah. So nobody wants to talk about this either. So let me just mention this quickly. So as we watch this food fight in the Democratic Party and the overall uncertainty of the U.S. elections, remember that Ursula von der Leyen was confirmed as the president of the European Commission, despite the fact that she and her family were basically convicted of self-dealing with the vaccine contracts that she surreptitiously issued to first her husband's company, who then turned around and contracted with Pfizer for the EU's COVID-19 vaccine orders.
And there is no mechanism for removing her.
No, there is, but they were busy in Pennsylvania. So
true enough. Hey, Stan, I actually, while we're over on the other side of the world, I actually have a Philippines question. I'm old enough to remember that there was a lot of smaller electronics that used to be made in Philippines and Thailand that did eventually shore onto China. Is part of what they're doing with keeping the Philippines unstable in the world of everybody in America talking about getting things out of China, preventing them from moving those electronics back into the Philippines and Thailand?
Possibly. I don't have that much visibility on it. John, I don't know that specifically. I just think that this is stirring up and then appearing to pacify conflict with near neighbors to Taiwan, in order to sort of in order to be able to concentrate on things. And the Philippines doesn't have the wherewithal to go toe to toe with the Chinese. They know it. Bong Bong knows it. He's a little bit like the Asian Zelensky at the moment. There was the funniest thing I've seen on X was this sort of meme of Joe Biden's lock page on his phone, where it said 52 missed calls from Zelensky. Dude, bro, call me back. The money's still coming, right?
yeah, that's hilarious.
and then it was like, please answer. He's left Zelensky in the lurch. We've left Bong Bong in the lurch. We've left a lot of people in the lurch. We seem to be specializing in doing these things.
Here's the thing: the Philippines is at a tantalizing distance from China, right? That makes the U.S. think that, hey, if we really were to go for it, we could kind of hold the other side of the Philippines, right? We may not be able to play in the inside the South China Seas under full court press from China, but we could play on, in basically the Western Pacific on, the eastern side of the Philippines. And so I think a lot of, U.S. policymakers think that's and of course you could argue that, hey, America has a historic national interest in the Philippines, and I do believe that as China is as a global threat, we do have an interest there, but it's definitely probably not the same interest, say, as what the WEF class thinks that we should be.
Well, if we had such a freaking interest, we wouldn't have allowed Clark to be turned into a casino resort, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's absolutely. We basically had a birthright there that we gave away, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the response to the Chinese MFA statement by the Philippines, right? We take note of the statement of the MFA spokesperson regarding an agreement reached in the rotational resupply. The principles and approaches laid out in the agreement were reached through a series of careful and meticulous consultations between both sides that have paved the way for a convergence of ideas without compromising national positions. The spokesman's statements, therefore, regarding prior notification and on-site confirmation is inaccurate. I want to stress that, of course, well, so why would the Chinese spokesperson be accurate? I want to stress that the agreement was concluded with a clear understanding by both sides that it would not prejudice our respective national positions. For the Philippines, this means that we will continue to assert our rights and jurisdiction in our maritime zones as entitled under the UNCLOS, including the Second Thomas Shoal, which is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, and the continental shelf. Nonetheless, our desire to de-escalate the situation in the South China Sea and to manage differences in a peaceful manner, we emphasize that the agreement was done in good faith, and the Philippines remains ready to implement it. We urge China to do the same. So clearly there is while maybe some disagreement in the public statement, there is absolute understanding that this is something that the Philippines is interested in as well. This is not just some sort of kind of over-the-top statement by the Chinese. All right. Let me, before we go any further, let me kind of go back into the Rumble chat. Pino says helicopter tours for $2. Says the DHS appointed the panel is for Trump haters. They literally installed Alan Dulles to investigate their enemy. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, like I said, I periodically just post the New York Times front page from the Warren Commission because I think that's where we go. That's where we're headed.
So, in just about every other shooting that's ever happened, up to and including the Vegas shooting, they have had mind-numbingly boring daily briefings of the investigations, even when the investigations went obviously nowhere. I haven't seen a daily briefing yet.
The narrative is still being written. That's fine.
They're not going to tell you because they don't respect you. They don't think they have to explain it to you.
Yeah.
The more stuff I see, they're not going to tell you because they maybe can't.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into our next odds and ends.
I thought I saw one on YouTube too a while back. Lance Corporal Veteran, maybe.
Oh, did we have a YouTube? I didn't see one. Yes, we did. Lance Corporal Veteran for $2. Bet Haitian gangs become the new feudal warlords. Now, I mean, that's exactly how feudal warlords come about, right? Gangs take over areas. They stop being gangs and start protecting the people who are under their control. And, it becomes essentially a protection racket. And then because there's no other, they start consolidating powers, making alliances, and then that's how governments occur. I mean, in a kind of a system of anarchy, that's how they come into existence. Joe had to drop off, I guess.
Stan has nothing to say on that subject.
I don't.
Joe had to move to mobiles, so he'll probably be coming in and out.
There's an awful lot of human history where that has been played out. Titus Pillow. I mean, we went from me. I mean, the point is that what you're going to look for is the hookup between Haitian gangs and Mexican cartels to deepen.
Right.
Sorry, Stan. That was more of a micro sovereignty joke.
No. There is no sovereignty, and as far as micro sovereignty is concerned, I can't talk about that.
Breaking news: Hunter Biden drops Fox News lawsuit.
Ooh.
Well, it's almost like
yes, there was rumors that
or a window to throw it out.
There was rumors that was going to happen a couple hours ago. Is it official?
Yes. Yeah. Finally, it's been made.
Is he going to get his pardon?
Not yet.
He's got to get through some more crimes first, buddy.
Well, on the 2A absolutionist side of this, or absolutist side of this, because English, do I speak it? If I was Trump, I would come out and say, you know what, the nonsense they convicted him on, I'll pardon him if his own damn dad won't, because it was BS.
You're talking about the gun charge.
The gun charge, yes, because I believe it. I believe that whole form and all that stuff is nonsense. That's just my own opinion. And as far as the other stuff goes, well, what is the tangled web they weave?
Well, there's a lot. That's one of those kind of deep holes you can go very far into and never get to the bottom.
And I totally agree. Like I hate, I don't like that law. I don't like all that kind of stuff. But I'm also about punishing my enemies.
From a PR standpoint, it does punish. It basically is. You know what? I'll hold you to the standards I actually believe in. Because you guys are such corrupt hacks, you won't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, gents, let's move on to a very unsavory topic. Is our last odds and ends?
Yeah, this is not fun, but it's happening. Don't wait for the collapse; you're already in it. Rape surges 11% in New York City as bail reform vulnerable migrants depleted. NYPD creates perfect crime storm. And this is a New York Post article from this. So let me open the article up and see if we have any more news, anything more further on this. It says there are 880 grapes reported in citywide in January 1 through July 14th, compared to 796 in the same period last year. This is from NYPD. Grapes, yeah, that's it's an avoid YouTube.
Yes, it's a code word.
Okay, tracking.
Yeah, this should be a wake up call. Says
I will
Whiting.
say that handily they've color coded it in purple though, so
it's great. Yeah. Jane Manning, director of the Women's Equal Justice. The NYPD needs to allocate more investigations into its understaffed Special Victims Unit so that every case is investigated well and dangerous offenders are apprehended. I'm just kind of looking. Jesus, look at that freaking.
Recall that not too long ago, the people were celebrating the decline in crime, right? Like New York City and so forth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. It says here the area's sharpest increase include Manhattan's 10th precinct, covering Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen, the South Hudson Yards. So a 300% increase with 8 so far this year. They doubled in Times Square as Madison, Midtown South precinct. The 101st Precinct in Rockaway Peninsula. He seems like, if I remember correctly, it was like Far Rockaway was like the place that you didn't mess with people there because there was people who protected those neighborhoods. Saw them shoot up 100%. 105th Precinct in Eastern Queens saw it increase 70%. So you're seeing. I wonder why this has happened. Let's see. We've got here Chris. Go ahead.
So I almost want to just say, let's pull this out of a hellhole that nobody in this particular audience really gives a shit about, and into a state that theoretically they might care about, because the same thing is going on in Salt Lake City and in Utah in general.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if you want to see an account that tracks it for you, it's at Disagree Butter, making fun of Cux's Disagree Better. And he literally tracks the A, migrants doing this, and B, the district attorney of Salt Lake County, Sim Gill, refusing to prosecute damn near anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got the bail reform stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of contributing factors. It says here, experts suggest several factors could be behind the increase, including the NYPD's dwindling manpower, the surge in migrant population, and the failing bail reform policies. It's no secret that the NYPD is down significantly in terms of force size because it's down. Whenever it decides to prioritize something, say, for example, subway offenses, that's going to make the top side slightly more vulnerable. As far as more cops are now below the ground, this is some criminal justice expert. I wish Joe was here to kind of bring his kind of point of view to this. But I mean, guys, let's go around the horn of this. Stan, I mean, clearly you reap what you sow, and I think that unfortunately the population of New York is reaping the policies of several absolute dumpster fires of mayors, but more broadly, Democratic national policies.
Yeah, this is just the drip, drip, drip of reaping what you sow, and I feel badly. Look, I have a daughter who lives in New York City, so I'm concerned about this. It's why she bought a place in upstate New York, and so. Get the hell out of New York. Look, what's it going to take to cleanse this? How much fundamental reformation is going to have to occur in places like New York and Baltimore and Philadelphia? And I can keep going. We could probably all recite the list together. San Francisco, Los Angeles, dare I say it, Salt Lake City, right? How much fundamental reform is going to happen? And how does that get done? And I don't think any of us have any insight as to how that's going to happen.
There is, Stan, some historical insight on this. What did it take to get Giuliani the last time?
Well, no, he's talking. You're talking about getting elected. He's talking. Look.
Well, Giuliani and the cadre around him were the ones that turned around a lot of this same stuff that was happening in the 70s. What did it take before they got there?
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And who, so
here's deportations of all illegal immigrants is a decent
that
start.
Would be a very good start.
Followed up by swift death penalty for all rapes, preferably in the public square.
Well, there was a quote over the weekend by Vivek Ramaswamy that I found pretty interesting. He said he was asked like what positions you would be interested in. He said, "Well, I've been talking to President Trump, and I've expressed interest in anything dealing with the mass deportation of illegal immigrants in the United States." He said, but there's another group that I'm more interested in the mass deportation of, and that's bureaucrats out of Washington, D.C. Anything we can do to absolutely depopulate the Washington bureaucracy would be something he would be interested in. I appreciated the sentiment for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the scale of reform and cleansing of entrenched bureaucracy that's going to have to occur in these communities is staggering to think about. Mike Bennett and I had this conversation when he was out here earlier this year, and I won't recount it because it will get us thrown off of every platform that we have. But Mike, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about, and there's a number that keeps going up exponentially, and it's going to be biblical, I think, in order to turn this stuff around. And I don't just mean on this topic of rape, but I'm talking about fentanyl and drug use and everything else that goes on.
Stan, in my opinion, if you want a good model, what we're experiencing is a situation in which one institution, the government, has attempted to capitalize and monopolize multiple roles that were traditionally filled by other institutions. And we've seen this before when the church had to fill to expand a collapsed Roman Empire. And we saw the same sort of decadence and the same sort of corruption happen there. And I might say that in line with you saying it will be biblical, what needs to happen, there's some very interesting historical passages around that time period that start to feel a little more real these days.
I don't disagree. I think that I don't know that this is within our power to do. We may have to look elsewhere for the board to be reset. No, as much respect as I have for Curtis Sliwa, no, I don't think that the guardian angels. I think this is above their pay grade.
Yeah,
I do think that a really good start to show resolve is to start deporting people as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I think that would set a tone, and I'm going to be criticized as being, racist, whatever.
That all lost its power, man. That all, in my opinion, that's all. Nobody cares about that shit anymore. This is all post.
So I just think that there has to be some actions taken soon in order to set a tone that said all of the false gods that we were in service to by allowing our country to be destroyed. That's all done. That's finished. And this is a down payment on as they say in Canada, on a process that is meant to right the ship. But let's not kid ourselves. It's a decade and a half's worth of work. And so the ability to maintain continuity in that effort is going to be what's going to be interesting if it ever gets started. All right, guys, I just want to encourage folks to think about coming out the 2nd through the 4th of August for what I think will be a fun series of days and events here in northwestern Montana, in conjunction with the Council on Future Conflicts annual sort of get together, and a little thing we're going to call Shield Field Days. It should be fun. It should be fun.
And we'll be doing the show live from there, and not just the regular CFC show, but we'll be doing some other live hits on various topics. So if you're a fan of the CFC, we'll definitely we will have you covered. And if you can't make it, make sure you check out the live streams. They'll all be pretty fun. We're not going to get too serious. All right, Stan, you got to take off.
Yes, I do. Thanks, guys.
Just in time.
There's a rare guest.
Well, I'll stick around and say hello to Ron. Ron, good morning, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning.
Welcome, Ron. How's Trix?
Trix is fine. She's hanging out. She's wondering when Sniper's going to give her back rub.
I'm leaving.
I'm staying out of that.
That's one way to clear the room. No, I've been listening to you guys while I've been doing chores, so I'm reasonably caught up. So
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and we're kind of getting to the meat and potatoes of the show today because it's on the kind of context provided by this last odds and end that we really set the table for segment number one. Real quick before we do, I just want to remind you guys we thrive on interaction here at the Council on Future Conflicts. And what does that mean? That means if you haven't done it already, please. Oh, hold on a second. I didn't even see this. Guys, if you guys see these big super chats, make sure you let me know. Big and 599 for $20 says they attempted to kill our nominee and yet not one building burned afterwards. I think we can put to bed the idea that the biggest threat to democracy. Absolutely. I think this is, and I think the political knife fight that's getting ready to occur prior to the DNC and then at the convention itself will show you exactly who the mostly peaceful party is here in the United States.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. They've always known it was a lie. They don't care.
No. You think we're talking about the other side? No, they know. They don't care. That's correct. Hold on a second, real quick. We got another big one. Well-armed Corgi for 1999 says, as much as I'm happy to see the Democrats getting slapped around, is any of this fixable? Debt servicing will soon exceed military budget. Right. This is where, this is one of the things when I'm at work and I reminded people who have grandiose plans for potentially military conquests of both China and Russia. I'm like, exactly how do you do that with $20 trillion? What's the debt at now? It's high.
30 about to hit 35 trillion.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling the debt clock up right now.
We have no other option but to like all these Patrick Foxes of the world that want us to go out and be militarily adventurous all over the planet need to either work out a way that self-finances or we need to become isolationists really fucking fast.
You're not wrong.
Well, can't we just cancel it like the college loan debts?
Well,
there we go. What kind of war are you going to go start with? $34 trillion, actually getting ready to flip over to $35 trillion national debt. Good.
Yeah, so we either turn our current defense thing into basically private contractors for the highest bidder, or we disband it, and those are the options we have.
I mean, one of the few things that RFK gets right is that at the rate we're going, by the time my kids hit high school, we are going to be servicing the debt with 100% of income tax receipts. That is not sustainable.
You think?
Well, the irony here is, if you look at U.S. total debt, that's all including unfunded mandates and all that kind of stuff. We're over $101 trillion.
Yeah, but we all know that those unfunded mandates are just gonna disappear down a fucking budget hole.
We'll never get that money, but yeah. But it's still something we've promised that you're the way you pay it is to make people pissed off,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, before we start our next segment, I just want to say we thrive off of interaction. So if you haven't already, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like this video, give it the thumbs up. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's free to do that. I appreciate it, and so do all the other fans out there.
I need to address something before we move on. During this, I'm not picking on you. This is a very common school of thought. It's just I believe it's very wrong. Durna says people forget that we're not at mortgage on a house levels of debt. We're at the bank will go under if they don't give us a break levels of debt. No, the bank will go under if they do give us a break. In fact, most of our friends who have lent almost all of their economic power for multiple decades into our system by investing almost all of their retirements and savings accounts and all that being tied up into U.S. Investment banking and U.S. Real estate markets. No, dude, not only that, but it makes this very handy where all the people who've collaborated with us and all the people who have the most incentive for us to succeed are all now tied to us so that all they have to do is kill our economy, and all of those problem states for our enemy go away.
Random PNW guy 84 over on Rumble for $10 says, so it's the question of the decade. How will the debt service be dealt with? Hyperinflation, default? What are the effects on the regular Joe and national level? Here's the interesting thing, right? I don't believe any of the monetary money theory, modern monetary theory. I don't believe any of that. Debt is not an asset when you're talking about the U.S. national debt. It's absolutely a liability. So essentially, we're going to have to figure out who we're going to default to and what we're going to default on. And once you start doing that, what we've been doing all these years have basically been offshoring our debt by printing dollars and then throwing them in the rest of the world. And that worked because people wanted dollar reserves and people needed dollars to transact international trade, specifically the petrodollar. But also most other, Bank of International Settlements worked off of U.S. dollars and things like that. But as soon as that goes away, and it's already started going away, we are fucked.
Yes.
Derna, did you miss 2008 entirely? Did you just miss the whole part where literally we had a hiccup in our real estate market and whole fucking countries collapsed that are our friends, like Iceland and Japan and multiple other places, and it's way worse now. Way worse now.
A lot of what's been keeping this can kicking down the road is the fact that it will drag basically the whole planet down with it.
Yeah.
And in a world where there's a lot of nukes, that's a very scary thought. But certain parts of the world are now doing things to insulate themselves from it, a la BRICS.
True.
So,
and the other side of this is that people who already live in essentially economic collapse have a lot less to fear from collapsing everybody else's economic system.
True. Right. Or need the outlet anyway in the wars that are going to come.
I know this is directly tied to future conflict, but I apologize for even bringing up the debt clock and all that kind of stuff. It's such a kind of bottomless pit of a topic. All right, so let's bottomless pits. Yes. So all right, so we were calling it last Friday. We've been calling it a long time prior to, but we definitely said going into the weekend, we expect as a council, we thought that we would see some movement on who the new candidate would be. And sure enough, I think that's the case. As we all woke up, I guess it was as everybody's kind of going to bed on, or maybe going into dinner time yesterday is when you guys all started getting hit up on X about, did you hear Biden's out? I mean, that was kind of the timeline, right?
It happened around lunchtime, a little bit after lunchtime for me.
Okay. All right. So yeah, depending on East Coast, West Coast, that type of thing. Sure. But the interesting thing is for me, I woke up this morning on Friday, on Monday morning and found out about it. So it was something I always wake up to interesting news here in South Korea. Inside the weekend when Biden decided to withdraw. So I read through this a little bit, and I think it's a pretty good kind of overview. It purports to be kind of an inside baseball kind of thing. So if you guys want me to kind of, if there's a point at which you want me to stop on this, let me know. I'll kind of do leading sentences versus full paragraphs here. I need you and Mike at the house, President Biden said late Saturday afternoon. Mr. Biden was on the phone from his vacation home in Delaware with Steve Ricchetti, a counselor to the president and one of his closest advisors. From that afternoon, far into the night, they worked on one of the most important historic letters of Mr. Biden's presidency. This letter is of interest to me. And I'm surprised that it's not getting more focus, but we'll talk about that later. The announcement of his decision to withdraw from the re-election campaign after top Democrats, donors, close allies, friends, essentially everybody pressured him relentlessly to get out, except for was it Harry Sisson or whatever? He ride or die until he wasn't. He would not tell most of his staff until a minute before taking the historic announcement to the world on social media. Why didn't he do a video?
Because it wasn't him that did it. It was maybe Jill.
Thank you.
It was Jill.
I don't think it was Jill.
Well, look, can we bring this up as something that needs to be addressed for our national security sake? Could have, like, I'm not saying it was, but like in future, this could literally have been a fucking hacker.
Relevant.
Let's see. I believe it was in the best interest of the party and the country for me to stand down, he wrote, and to solely focus on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Guys, I bet he doesn't make it the week.
Well, yes.
It begs the question, like, if he can't run for the re-election, then why is he still president?
So the entirety of Twitter has been saying that for the last 24 hours. Yeah, I wish the other Sean was here, because he made this point yesterday afternoon, and I think he might be right on point with this. He said what this probably comes down to is the cabinet got on Zoom call with effectively Jill and said, either y'all go along with this or we 25th you. But now they've broke the seal. What's to stop them from just doing it anyway in like a couple of weeks?
Well, what bothers me is that they seem to have run out of letterhead paper for Joe Biden's pathetic resignation or I'm withdrawing statement, and his auto pen signature sucks.
Yeah, that
there's too much. I mean, there's always a White House photographer, at least to capture still photos of events of historical significance. And you mentioned video, Scott. There wasn't even a still photo of Biden, at a table, at a desk, in his bed, signing the letter, whatever. It just, I don't know.
Have we had proof of life since then?
No, we haven't had proof of life since he got off Air Force One, very unsteadily, very slowly, and needed help getting into the presidential, suburban thingy and get driven off. I mean, and then the statement by his brother that about Joe, the time he has left. It's like, what the fuck? That's like when somebody's in hospice and like, hey, let's go visit Joe because he doesn't have much time left.
And honestly, I don't think he does. To be just from my experience with my father, it looks like he's kind of in the short rows a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say my ex-mother-in-law recently passed, and she went downhill from the I don't remember the grandkids to the being gone was only a few months.
I can say this, like, it speeds up, like it accelerates. But years become months, months become weeks, weeks become days, days become hours, and that's really what happens in the last the very near the end of someone's life, and especially with a disease like this or an affliction.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I have no information that would indicate to me that something like that's happening. That said, it's just
and again, that's just me from my experience of watching my father. And this is all stems from his performance at the debate, and that's where I'm kind of drawing that conclusion.
By the way, Pete, why don't you say this the question that you did in the private chat? Why don't we do that now?
Oh yeah. So I posted, what did the people around Biden know, and when did they know it?
Yeah, when it comes to all of this kind of conditions of his health and things like that.
I think people listen. If you want to start an interesting project, you want to do your own little media project thing, but you don't want to get out and confrontational with people on the street like a lot of these people do. Start FOIA-ing every single communication that has happened inside this entire White House for the last 3.5 years
until they bleach bit it.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question that you asked. It's the same question that I think it was Sam Nunn asked during the Watergate hearings, chaired by Sam. What did President Nixon know, and when did he know it?
When did he know it? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and Kamala is I mean, she's right there. I mean, she's as guilty as sin of, I mean, come on. I mean, I know the girl's a ditz, but even somebody on their knees half the time can see this.
Yeah. I mean, everybody who was around him who, I mean, like this just didn't like automatically, like this shouldn't like out of nowhere hit him, this has been obviously building for years. And whether if it's like, just, just age, dementia, so forth. And people just seeing it and then be like, oh, you know what, we're going to just continue on with him as president and so forth. And that's morally repugnant.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the thing that they said during the 2020 campaign. All we need, Joe, is your corporeal form. That's it. You don't have to, you have to be lucid. You just have to be alive. Yeah, and we'll rule through you. And I think that's exactly what's happened.
I also think it's a minor scheme by the Democrats to render as collector items all those Trump hats that have 45-47 stenciled on the side. See, now Kamala goes, haha, I'm 47.
Yeah. Let me kind of go a little more into this article. The concession was stunning and discordant with a steady drumbeat of furious denials in the past few days from Mr. Biden's campaign. It underscored how the president has kept information tightly controlled amongst a tiny circle of friends, longtime advisors, and family members. For the time the president arrived in Delaware with COVID late Wednesday, telling reporters, I'm doing well, there have been two political realities. One was a sprawling campaign infrastructure on autopilot, determined to march ahead by continuing to champion Mr. Biden. The other was playing outside the home with a sign over the front door paying tribute to the president's son who died in 2015.
Which quite frankly, I mean, if we're talking about, we've been talking about how weekend at Bernie's the entire administration's been for a long time. If this doesn't expose it more than anything else, literally like the apparatus was ready to continue marching forward with their zombie candidate, even as their zombie candidate himself was ready to pull out because he was being threatened.
Yeah. Well, I mean it just goes to, if you look at the advisors and people who are close to him, so people who knew what's what, right? They were saying things like, absolutely, the president is in this race. He's absolutely in it. He's going to show that he's fighting for the American people. He's done that day in and day out since the debate. And so, like, that was Friday, right? And all this stuff happened on Saturday, and the letter came out on Sunday, right? So, I mean, they were lying when they said that.
Also, so we make a lot about intentions you can try and read into stuff, or ideas you can try and read into stuff because of when the announcement was made. Okay, so if you want to bury it, you announce it on Friday at close of business, right? What does it say when you announce something on Sunday?
And not via the normal channels either.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this maybe have been a Berlin Wall situation. I don't know if the people at the top of the campaign knew or designed this to happen. I think that when we look into this, this may have been everything was going to happen anyways. People at low level made some maybe bad decisions. Somebody decided to take some initiative to end it, and then it was over. Who knows if that was an Obama plant or what, but after the announcement was made, how do you go back on it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
There was some commentary that at least part of the administration had no idea until they saw it on Twitter.
My personal counter for this is the following. I think that they worked out a deal with Joe where Joe was not going to resign until just before the convention. And then those people that made the deal with Joe weren't happy with that and knew that they could force their hand by essentially just saying, hey, get access to whoever has access to his social media account. Either grab their credentials or make them do it yourself. Tell them to tweet that he's resigning.
Well, didn't you see that the moron in the communications office was posting as Joe Biden over the weekend? I think it was over the weekend.
Yes, and I will say that I almost guarantee that the way this stacks out, you can tell that whoever was the one who made it, because it wasn't Joe Biden, whoever got on to make the victory, we got you to step down thing, which is exactly what that was.
Yeah.
They were from Obama's camp because they did not include Kamala in the first statement. And then someone from Kamala's camp, then within a few, I think 30 minutes, got on and said, no, wait, no, we endorse Kamala.
So this does bring up an interesting point. The Clintons have endorsed Kamala. The Obamas have not.
Yeah, that interesting. This is where I'm thinking that if Obama were to come out and publicly endorse, Kamala, then I would say it's probably a done deal. That's what makes me feel like that there's another shoe that's going to drop. Just of interest, kind of going back to his condition. I want to share this tweet from Laura Loomer. A reputable source that she is. She's definitely good for a laugh or two. But
eyes rolling.
This is interesting. This is interesting here because I don't think that you report this as close as she is to the Republican kind of seat of power without having somebody telling you that this is true, that she trusts. So it says here, Joe Biden is now in the terminal stage of his illness. This is why this is what my medical source in DC has confirmed to me. I told you all weeks ago he had medical emergency on Air Force One, that you'd be seeing resignations. Everything I said is true. Most people don't know Air Force One has full medical emergency triage center. There's even an operating room on Air Force One. Just because people don't know these things doesn't mean my report is incorrect. I think this is interesting. I don't necessarily believe it, but I think this is not the only report along these lines that I've seen. So it's just the biggest account that I've seen reporting it.
I just mean that the fact that Air Force One has a full surgical suite in it. I did know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Anybody who watched Harrison Ford, come on, I mean, jeez, we know this.
Is that in a movie? I knew it just because when I was a kid, I got one of those books that has like breakdowns of unique vehicles.
The cross section books.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
Those things are pretty badass.
So.
All right. So anyway, this is definitely something that kind of went down. Like the more it looks like it was some sort of a palace coup in a way, especially if Obama comes out and acknowledges I endorse Kamala too. Then how do you legally give his delegates over? Don't they have to don't those delegates now have to kind of figure out who they want to vote for at the convention and not just be told?
It's a mess.
Who they want to look. This is the biggest horse trading thing ever. There's so much money and jobs and future prospects changing hands right now. It's staggering. Like there are generational wealth being made in some corners of the political sphere at this moment right now.
Well, I can tell you one person who's really, really, really happy that all this happened. She's testifying on Capitol Hill right now, and she's not answering a single question.
The Secret Service, yes.
She is stonewalling the Congress. She's telling outright lies.
So what I hear is that Mayorkas essentially told her to do so. Do you put any credence to that, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, she's a political hack. I mean, she's not a law enforcement officer by any stretch. And
while she has a background in Secret Service, you're actually right. I think she's 100% a political creature who, lives and dies by the whims of political favoritism.
Exactly.
And Ron, you've probably seen it more than most, right? It's like you see these people who come up through the system and they're legit professionals in their career, but then they have to essentially, take the silver, right? And they basically sell their soul for further advancement. And a lot of times I think they pick people to advance that are not the best, right? That are just good enough.
That are controllable. I mean,
exactly right.
The best example, where the one that comes immediately to mind is
the Vice President.
Harf. No, is Maria Harf. Used to be the State Department spokesman for Kerry when he was Sec State.
Yeah.
And she joined the agency as an analyst, but she was a shitty analyst, but she did that to be in DC and make her contacts and do what she needed to do to advance. And suddenly she jumps from analyst to State Department Public Affairs working for Jen. What's her name? The redhead.
Jen Psaki, yeah.
Jen Psaki, yeah. And so, and then, when Jen Psaki moves over to the White House, she moves up. I mean, it's like, that's a perfect example of leveraging a government position that you're lousy at for political gain, personal political gain.
So it turns out she was a bad intel analyst, but she was a really good social structure analyst.
Well, yeah. I mean, however you want to put it, yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Hunch the Dirty Roofer for $5 says, "Howdy, y'all. Who is stoked for next week? I, for one, am very stoked for next week. Can't wait. I take off at 5 p.m. and then I land at the same day at 5 p.m. So it's awesome.
Man,
a little time travel. Looking forward to it.
Let's
moving on
close.
to the
you're doing the Doctor Who phone booth thing.
Yeah, you know how it is. Ohio. You fly it backwards across the international date line, and you basically, you gain a day, but you lose a day coming back. That's the only.
Wait, is the plane flying backwards?
No, it's across the international date line, man. Come on.
Okay,
man.
Ferris Bueller. I know if you put the car in reverse, and run it on the
the mileage goes down. That's right.
Yeah, right.
All right, moving on with this. With the next one, this is a tweet from Mario Nafal. Now Mario is you take him or leave him, right? But he asked some interesting questions here, and it kind of goes to the method of why didn't we see this in a different form? Speaking about the letter, he says Biden dropped out of the race with a signed memo and not a video. I get that he's sick, but really, didn't the American people deserve to hear it from him directly? Why did Why did it have to happen yesterday? Could it not have waited until after he's better? Why would a day or two make a difference after months of delay? Has anyone outside his inner circle seen him lately?
And see, this is.
I think this picture right here is emblematic.
I mean, yes, but this is why I think it was Jill, because whether it's cooties, whether it's the flu, whether it's whatever, he's obviously bed resting right now, and that gave him the opportunity to pull Jill in a room and say, "This is what we're going to do to all of you. Give up now."
I get the feeling that somebody got to Jill and said, "Hey, listen, Jill, this is what we're going to do to you if you don't drop the BS."
I've been saying this for a long time, and everybody's been telling me that I'm nuts and that Jill would never give up power and all this other kind of stuff. But I've been saying for a very long time, the reason the Bidens got picked is because there is so much dirt on them. If the deep state wanted to start playing nasty, they could bury them in a heartbeat. If the DNC wanted to bury them, they could do it tomorrow. Like, not just like, oh, you're out of the presidency. Like, oh, you're no longer the president. Also, we're prosecuting you, your entire freaking family, every single person that's been involved in the grift that is super well documented. And the DNC keeps paper and digital files on.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of
I never thought you were wrong on that.
Something that I just kind of thought about is, people have been praising Biden for heroic action, greatest leader ever, and so forth. But yet the only announcement was a memo, right? But so those two things don't seem to jive, right? Like he didn't go on TV, no public announcement or anything like that. It's just a memo.
Yeah. Does that make sense? So. Well, and even the memo doesn't pass the smell test, right? And everybody's kind of latched onto the signature, but clearly it was signed by somebody else. These are all verified. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm not even talking about that aspect of it. I'm just talking about how heroic and best leader ever when your announcement of a huge decision affecting the politics of the United States and the citizenry. It's just to release a memo. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And not have the wherewithal to go on TV or a public announcement for your decision. No, I mean, LBJ did it.
I mean, supposedly there's going to be an address at some point this week, but we'll see what happens on that front. But like I said, and Walter, I never thought you were wrong on the Jill is largely, that's one of the reasons that a lot of us said that this was elder abuse being principally committed by Jill Biden.
Well, but she got gassed up. She's not a political creature. She tries to be, but she's from the union side of it, where they think they're involved, and they're not actually all that involved.
Correct. And for anybody who didn't catch that, play it back and listen to it one more time, because he's exactly correct. But I do really think this was with him safely out of commission and nobody else in the family to there at that moment to stand strong or whatever, she was pulled in a room and just folders just thrown on the desk. This is what's coming. This happens now, and we have the cabinet ready to tell you that we're going to 25th him anyway.
And here's a nice shiny carrot for you. You guys are getting your own foundation, and here's a presidential library, and then if you don't,
you get to keep a lot of the election money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so I mean, guys, what's your take on this whole signature thing? I mean, it seems fairly fishy to me, but I don't want to see smoke where there maybe is no fire.
Well, let me ask you, what's one of the classic signs of dementia?
I don't.
Listening to this program?
Hey.
Hand tremors and the inability to continue for fine motor function. I guarantee Biden has been signing his own shit for a long time.
Well, I mean, he has publicly signed bills, this year.
Yeah, on stage, like I'm sorry, where you can basically
they hold,
do a little
usually,
scribble and there you go. Woo!
Well, but they hold them up and you can see. So I know what you're saying, but the kind of motor function that's last to go are these automatic kind of don't even think about them things like signatures, right? And so where like these, if you can see the screen here. Essentially, all these old signatures of his, the B starts from the bottom and then comes up around and then makes that, like half a 8 shape, right? Like the 2 humps on the side of the B.
Yeah. I don't think it's debatable that whoever did this is not Biden, because there's several different things that they've done very differently.
Yeah, the R is different, the B is different. So it starts here. The old B starts at the bottom and then comes down, whereas this one is a line and then starts at the top. I mean, it's clearly just not the same signature.
I should clarify. Limey has what I was trying to get to. It doesn't have any signs of trembling. Like whoever did this is not a dementia patient. That's kind of what I was trying to point out.
Yeah.
However, before you make too much of a mountain out of a molehill on this.
Hold on a second, Sean. Let me get this super chat, and then you'll be. Right.
Sorry, phone's in the pocket. Sorry, go ahead.
Just me for $9.99 says the money negotiations were with Jill. Pardon deal with Hunter on Saturday. They fluffed his pillows with Joe on the bottom of the 3 pile, and Joe passed peacefully from the race in his sleep. Yeah, I mean, I think there will be some pardons coming out here. If we see pardons happening before it, in lieu of anything else happening, that's a kind of good indicator that he's getting ready to, punch out of the office, much less out of the race. So.
Correct. But I mean, before we get too far down the rabbit hole of signatures and all this nonsense, my signature is not even consistent at any given interval, depending on how fast I'm signing, which child is distracting me, whether I'm at work, whether I'm at home. People don't always sign everything the same way all the time.
Well, let's be honest. Now that we've done away with hard copy checks for the most part, who signs their signature? I mean, like a lot of people just don't. It used to be in the old days. Ron, you know how it is. You used to have to sign your signature for everything. back in the old days. Now, somebody may go months without signing an actual official signature on any documents.
Fair enough. I mean, I do actually have to sign a fair amount of stuff, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, no, signatures are not always consistent. And like I said, I am the principal. I will stand up and say, "Hi, I'm that guy."
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly Biden was consistent, and then he was inconsistent. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Well, the good news for Kamala is that she does have some important friends coming out on her side. Moving on to the next little nugget of info here.
I saw you pull up the clock drawing test.
Yeah. We'll just let people sort that out for themselves, I think. do a little research.
Yeah. Yep. So we've got our good friend Alex Soros coming out. It's time for us all to unite around Kamala Harris and beat Donald Trump. She's the best and most qualified candidate we have. Long live the American dream. Yeah, because the American dream is 15-minute cities and eat your bugs, right?
Oof.
Is he?
Big
was he
oof.
born in the States? I'm sorry.
Say again?
Was he born in the States?
Was Alex born in the States?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I'm eating a peanut butter toast.
I would be shocked if their family didn't coordinate that. It'd be really dumb for people. Like it's so easy to get a citizenship that way if you're that rich.
I like how the picture cuts off just above where the knee pads would be. So.
Well, now she's president now. Now she's got no. Now she's got a mat carrier. She doesn't have to like carry them strapped anymore. She's president.
Fair enough. Oh man, watch her! God damn it!
What did I do?
When I'm out, they pull me back in. I just saw the Ordo Xenos Battle Force box.
Yeah, it's good looking.
I know. Anyway, sorry. I apologize for getting off topic there. So back to the Satanists who are endorsing Kamala Harris.
They really are coming out of the woodworks.
Well, yes.
But I will say that the only people I really have seen come out thus far are money people who really could go either way.
Well, you've got a lot of the politicals coming out that way, right?
So again, this comes down to the Clintons endorsed him and the Obamas didn't, or the Clintons endorsed her and the Obamas didn't. So yes, the money has gone ahead and come out after Kamala, but money is fickle and money can change its mind. The power broker parts of the party, the two power broker wing parts of the party, they're clearly setting up for a fight.
Yeah, it's what do they call this? We're in the counting coup stage where everybody's standing up to say which side they're going to come down on.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Well, this will be interesting to see if we see people stop coming out and publicly supporting Kamala in the next day or two, before the other shoe drops, right? Well, who else?
Oh, many people have.
Throw in their like for instance Obama, right? It'd be interesting to kind of watch his socials and to see does he drop any other names? Does he come out and support Kamala? I mean, I think that's where the interesting kind of piece goes, right? And so
in my opinion, if you want to know what Obama's going to say, just listen to what the media says shortly before that, because A, he tells them to, and B, that's how they send up balloons about the ideas that they're eventually going to endorse, is that they
the trial
kind of toss out all their things out first. Exactly. So, no. I mean, they've made it pretty clear through the media that the media basically dismissed Kamala immediately.
That's actually more. I didn't expect us to go here, but yes, it is very interesting that the old school power brokers, the old school behind the scenes power brokers, the Willie Brown types, not to bring up knee pad jokes, they're still pretty, if not owned by the Clintons, heavily influenced by the Clintons. It's the media class that is completely owned by the Obamas.
Well, I won't say completely, but yeah, I think they still have a significant foothold in the media space, especially when it comes to the traditional mainstream media platforms.
Well, and a lot of people are asking, well, how is that possible? Well, I'll tell you, and we've talked about this before. It's because during Obama's era is when we made schools of journalism and when we made journalism a degree. And made that like I guess it was probably in some small ways before that, but that's when there was a big drive to make it in like every college everywhere. And that's when a large majority of the old people who were once just smart, not college educated people who got jobs as reporters got replaced by people who went through college during the hope and change eras and were the most energized for Obama. And now they're all in position of
it's also when we got rid of the equal.
Yeah.
It's also when we got rid of a lot of the equal time provisions and stuff like that.
Well, right. So that was the 80s. The fair? What was it? Ron? What was it called in the 80s? The Fair something amendment or the Fair Act or something?
Well, it was. I think it was an FCC rule, the Fair Act, and equal time, whatever crap. I don't remember the formal name. I'm sure it was some wonderful PR name, but
fairness. Yeah. Was it the Fairness Doctrine?
Maybe it could.
I can't remember.
The Wancholo had the Fairness Doctrine. I will say it did come to me right before I read that, but yeah, then it was what the Fairness Doctrine going away is what allowed like Rush Limbaugh to happen. Right before that. They didn't, they wouldn't put on partisan, radio programming because if they do, okay, who cares if you'll listen to 3 hours of Republicans on talk radio because nobody's going to listen to the left wing guy, right? Or it's just the audience wasn't in tune for that. So once they could get away from the Fairness Doctrine,
well, they also weren't supposed to propagandize on American media until Obama.
Well, yeah, and then you've also got, and somebody mentioned it in the chat, I think it's Josh Clark mentioned, Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, which is where you had the government essentially feeding news stories to the media, and the media ate it up, right? They just
that used to be clandestine, and now it's just like it's literally just flat out in public. The White House could literally come out and say, "Don't cover that story."
Really, the final gasp of that is what we saw with the social media companies, and what was the kind of combination of the U.S. and the Brits. I can't remember what that was called, but
yeah.
Anyway.
But are you talking about that fucking or I guess the final aspiration of that was that one that they were trying to get that drama kid to lead up the basically the U.S. Truth Commission against Republicans, where she could go on and tell any social media company or any place anywhere that they had to edit whatever for expressing right-wing opinions.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Do we have? Yeah. So here's my exit question on this topic, guys. You don't worry about the last
Ron,
link on this. We've kind of already covered that. Go ahead.
Hello,
Scott. You're breaking up heavy.
All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. What did you say? You were breaking up heavy.
Oh, I was just saying that ignore the last link. We'll go. I'm going to go into an exit question, but go ahead, Ron, if you had something to say.
No, somebody was talking to me, but never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just heard Watcher say, Ron.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Here's my exit question, and I'll throw it to you, Ron. So, if not Kamala, then who else?
Oh God. Jesus. I mean, there's all the usual suspects, and I think it really doesn't make any difference because they're going to just tear each other apart. I mean, Kamala is not Hubert Humphrey. If we're going to, replicate the Lyndon Johnson withdrawal and the Chicago convention, I mean, my God, the parallels are scary. But yeah, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think so let's say it's Kamala, but whoever takes the Veep slot for her ticket, like, congratulations, your political career is over. Everybody will remember you as a Thomas Eagleton type of,
Who?
So
sorry. And if it's enough, Kamala doesn't get it. There's no real unifying Democrat that can, like spark the amount of enthusiasm that Donald Trump has. So I wouldn't even hazard a guess because it really doesn't make a bit of difference.
Yeah.
If I may educate the audience real quick, for those of you who may not be history buffs, the AI in my search function came up with a great little summary of this, and a lot of people are referring to this as the Chicago DNC curse. So 1968 had a ridiculous convention that kind of collapsed, and what led into that was a lot of anti-war sentiment around the Vietnam War. No parallels there at all. None.
Yeah.
Police brutality, specifically Chicago Chicago police being accused of very heavy-handed response to protests in years previously. Again, no parallels whatsoever. We're completely fine. And then heavy party division, being that there were very strong factions within the party and no clear unifying leader. Boy, there are no parallels whatsoever. And this, if I'm not mistaken, this broke up the DNC's hold on power for almost like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
As baffling as it is that that Kamala seems like a done deal, I think that the real question is, who is going to be the VP? Who are they going to choose to balance out the ticket? And
well,
Josh Shapiro.
Hillary.
No, Josh Shapiro.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about Shapiro. They're talking about Bashar from Kentucky. These moderate Democrats of southern states and so forth. And
look, I'm telling you, nightmare ticket 2024. Kamala Hillary. They'll call it
Hillary would never do
at
that.
Death.
Yeah, and I just don't see
maybe Hillary Kamala. Maybe I could see that.
Well, here's the question. Is is their administration going to be known by the Harris dash whatever administration? Does that make sense? Like they did with Biden.
The memes are going to be so good.
Whoever
she announces, there's going to be that phone call.
Does anybody think it's going to be anybody else legitimately outside of Kamala?
No.
Yeah. Look, I still haven't decided whether
as
Kamala
the lead on the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, look, I absolutely think it's definitely possible that Kamala tries to get somebody else roped into this. I don't think she wants this on her political career either.
I disagree, or she wouldn't have allowed the endorsement to happen, because that.
I don't know that she has any control over any of that. Look, it's been documented that she's frozen out, and her staff do not get along with anybody else's staff in the White House.
Yeah, there's.
You got to remember, if Biden is out, then all of a sudden that changes the calculus for everybody inside Biden's staff.
I agree, but how good do you think Kamala is in calculus?
Watch her. She went into the 2020 convention with 0 delegates. This is probably as good as it's going to get for her. So that and a little bit of a payout would make her be willing to fall on the sword. The thing that is yet to fall, the shoe that is yet to fall, is to make her president, is to 25th him out and make her president for the last 3 months.
That's not going to help.
No, it won't help. And we'll know a little bit more because Kamala is supposed to talk in a half hour. She's supposed to make some sorts of announcements. So,
if anything. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ron. I thought you were done.
I mean, we don't know what the subject that she's going to talk about, but it's interesting that she's going to speak before Biden speaks, if Biden still can speak or is, God, it's just.
That's weird. It's extremely weird.
I would be unsurprised to see her come out and say, listen, I understand that this is my duty for the party, but I feel that I am too young in politics and not well enough equipped to be able to handle this position on their
She'll
own,
never
and
say
I'm
that.
deferring to X, Y, or Z, other woman.
So
Well-
2 LBJ statements in one cycle.
What is she going to make an Al Haig statement?
Yeah. I'm in charge.
No. But essentially saying, hey, I'd be honored to be the VP pick, and I'd like to pick who I'd like to see as the front runner, and then it's whoever has actually been giving her directions the whole time.
Oh, politicians with egos? Are you? No way. This.
See, I don't.
Okay, she's got an
see
ego,
it.
but how often have you seen her for the last 2.5 years?
Too much.
Haven't.
I mean, well, I mean,
she's been very well tucked out of sight, and the very few times she comes on stage, she recites the exact same 3 lines.
well, yeah. I mean, she has crappy speech writers, and she has a terrible speaking voice. I get all that, but she's. I mean, if she can, no matter what she does. I mean, she's been out campaigning. I mean, they just haven't covered her because she's a non-entity and in the Biden-Harris campaign. But now that she's, temporarily leading the ticket, it's like, she's going to have to speak a lot more, and she's going to be subjected to a lot more scrutiny and a lot more questioning by the public.
Although,
We hope.
that phrase, everybody's been curious as to what the hell it means that she's been repeating, actually does make a lot more sense in context now. What could be unburdened by what has been?
Yeah, it's Shakespeare. She's not. I get it.
All right.
So if it is just actually a power struggle,
Whoa.
right? And
Hold on. Actually, Pete's got something that breaking that affects this conversation.
Oh yeah, that's why I posted in there. It came out about an hour ago. You click on the link and I guess bring it up. Yep.
Just in, CNN reports that Kamala Harris is preparing to contrast her record as a prosecutor with Trump's as a felon. So,
well, the irony is that Harris only has her record as a prosecutor to go off of. I mean, because she sure as hell didn't do anything for the last 4 years.
And then the Trump campaign and others can sit there and you kept black men in prison in confinement beyond.
They can absolutely use a record against her.
As firefighters, and there's records.
Remember,
got kept as firefighters got wounded in the line of duty.
Correct. And remember that she got 0 delegates because of somebody that we will not simp for doing one good thing and murdering her live on national TV. That said, the question I was going to ask was, if this really is a fist fight between the Clinton wing and the Obama wing, and the Obama wing wins, who do we think it is? Because I don't think it's Newsom. Newsom is the only Obama Democrat in California.
Michelle?
I think they have not revealed their dark horse candidate, and I think that is strategic. I think that whoever they're going to try and insert has not been talked about anywhere at all, and this is on purpose. Because the more scrutiny this candidate gets, the worse it's going to be for them. But I have a feeling that it's going to be somebody that people will get very excited about in the short term.
I was wondering about the North Carolina governor, the old one.
Roy Kuiper?
The one Obama liked.
Wait, are you talking about the one that's currently Cooper?
No, I can't remember his name, but Obama liked him.
Here's a fun theory to throw out, and I do actually lend some credence, not necessarily that it's going to happen, but that it is being considered. I have heard people call for a unity candidate and for reaching across the aisle.
Like
some of
Romney.
to some of the Vichy GOP that are actually very much in agreement with the left and saying, hey, we can get behind this candidate, and trying to pull as many of the GOP voters that are like, there is a roughly 10% of the GOP that hates what we're doing, that hates us, hates the party, what the party's becoming, and would rather destroy it than see anything happen. And I think they're going to try and do whatever they can to pull those votes.
I mean, I dropped that thing about Aaron Sorkin saying, please do Romney because we must stop Trump. I don't think it'll be Mittens either. But there is a point there. And there is a gas driver, that won't shut up.
Yeah.
Can everybody agree to this though? Whoever is piloting Biden strategically did what they did in order to prevent Kennedy from getting the nomination, because he would have.
Before anybody answers that, Juan Cholo for $10 says, whoever gets picked for the Democratic candidate, are they going to come out singing "I Have No Strings on Me" from Disney's Pinocchio movie to distance themselves from Biden?
Lol.
What are you talking about? They don't need to distance themselves from Biden. They need to distance themselves from Obama.
You know how you distance yourselves from Biden? You take more than 10 steps within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why do you say they need to distance themselves from Obama?
Well, because Obama's the real power behind the throne, right?
What about one of their pet generals?
I can't. I mean, Ron, what do you think? I can't think of any generals that are really popular.
Or one of their pet 3-letter agency guys.
I have no idea. I mean, any speculation is just that. I mean, we could just start going down the list, alphabetical or whatever. But
certainly.
And I think Watcher's kind of onto something, because nobody wants to really reveal that hidden dark horse popular candidate, because they'll immediately come under the microscope, and they're not quite ready for that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the only
books are being cooked.
The only general I think would have name recognition would be Milley.
Milley would be the only one, but I don't.
No, that's not true at all. They've got a lot of older generals that the shine has started to come back onto. They've started to rehabilitate that they could definitely come for.
Yeah, I think right now with that time, like the time frame, like I said, I just think Milley would be the one that people would know the most.
And listen,
maybe
here's the other
Petraeus.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Or Mad Dog has actually expressed support for their side of the fence by a lot, and even though he's acted like an idiot, people still have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord!
Totally forgot about him.
So, if I can sort of switch subjects just a little bit, so here's a report, and again, these reports are all over the place. I mean, there's space aliens landing on the West Lawn type of thing. I'm kidding. Here it is. Jill is furious while at the White House today. She's storming around trying to figure out who attached to Camp Pelosi made the call for the Twitter post where Biden removed himself from the race, and she's trying to see if she can get it walked back in any way. Reports are the White House hasn't seen this level of female rage and chaos since the Clinton days. So Hillary was notorious for that stuff.
So it literally could be a palace coup then.
What you're telling me. What's hilarious about that is it gets better. Respect for Jill. They just walked around her.
It gets better. One last sentence. Joe seems confused as to what's happened and keeps asking if he resigned the presidency. I mean, I have no idea if this is wish casting or what.
He has. He literally has. It's just a matter of time before somebody takes it away from him.
All right, before we do any more commentary, random PNW guy 84 over on Rumble for $10 says a unity party ticket versus Trump. That will really show the reality of the situation. Complete mask off, even for normies. Yeah, so some sort of like a Vichy GOP guy running, and not necessarily Mitt Romney.
But it's not a unity party. It'd be the or a unity party. It would be the UNA party, the single party.
That's true, but that's not how they bill it. It's like everything else they do.
Remember, the Patriot Act is all about patriotism.
Sure is.
Mike Easley, is that your pick there, Pete?
No. Talking about the former governors of North Carolina. He's the most recent former Democratic governor of North Carolina, because Roy Cooper is currently.
Yeah.
What about their former Virginia governor? That's look. Remember, there's another strategy we haven't got yet. They might say, "Hey, it's lost," and then they might try and bring out somebody to fall on the sword in a creative way that specifically gets down ballot votes. One way or the other.
Gentlemen, it looks like the dark horse candidate is actually emerging. This is breaking news here.
Can you get me a link? Oh, never mind.
Frank Underwood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was.
I love
Pee Wee Herman.
I love how he has a Frank Underwood.
Oh wait, no. I've got some breaking that needs to be brought on the show. We have footage from the from the interview with the Secret Security with the Secret Service head. Here you go, folks. Enjoy. Try not to have your heads pop off in rage.
So, did he have a rangefinder? There were some reports that the individual had a rangefinder. That would certainly raise my suspicion. Did he have a rangefinder?
Yes, he did. But may I explain that at a number of our sites, especially when you're at outdoor venues, a rangefinder is not a prohibited item. It is sometimes an item that is brought in by individuals. If you're going to be
did anybody confront him on that? Anybody ask him questions? What are you doing with the rangefinder? Anybody confront him on his presence where he was in proximity to the president?
So again, to my knowledge, I believe that was the process that was taking.
Reminder: this is a Democrat asking the questions.
Taking place was to locate the individual.
Did they confront him? Did they go up to him? Did they talk to him?
I do not have those details at this time.
Those are important details.
Yeah, there's a side of the Democrat faction that's ready to fold on this part of the administrative state as well, to offer them up as a sacrifice.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is if they're willing to do it to the detriment of an actual Democratic candidate.
Did she just make the comment that rangefinders are common in these type of events?
They are. Well, and I will explain that there's one particular class of person who definitely uses them all the fucking time. Cameramen use them all the damn time.
Well, and golfers.
Assassins?
Yep.
And assassins?
Light monitors and cameramen or rangefinders are going to be a cameraman thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess, yeah.
You got to know which telephoto you need to use. Yeah. And there's all kinds of
But a guy with no camera and just a rangefinder becomes a different story.
Completely correct. And a drone, which holy shit. Listen to me. A mall cop, and most mall cops do, for under $1,000 can go out and buy a box that allows him to lock down a 5 square mile area from all commercial drones. Anything that flies in there, you'll know who has it, who it's registered to. You'll be able to pull all of it from the script level.
And they won't even be able to they won't even be able to take off with a commercial drone, because it's, basically that NOTAM or whatever goes up, and it's basically it won't allow you to fly in there.
Yeah, and then if it happens to be non-commercial drone, which this box doesn't have access to the script code, so it can't take command of the drone from a level, you can also jam that drone so that it just goes back to home, because it's lost. Well, it tries to go back to home, but it loses GPS signal. So unless it's got an INS, then it's fucked. Like, it's less than $1,000. It's available to private security, and you're telling me that we weren't running something comparable or significantly more advanced for a presidential candidate visit? You're telling me we didn't have counter drones? Literally teams of drones ready to fly up and take out other drones, which is the best and most cheaply proven way to be able to do so? I'm incensed.
Ron, I want to steal Ron's thunder here, sharing a X post that Ron just retweeted about 7 minutes ago. Maybe it looks familiar to you, Ron.
But you think you are the best person in the country to head the Secret Service?
I think that I am the best person to lead the Secret Service at this time.
During the cover-up.
The Service receives billions in funding each year, as has been explained.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look, I have an idea. Just an idea for part of our cleanup, if we ever are allowed to do so. Secret Service needs to be its own separate government entity within the federal government. They need to not be overseen by literally anyone else. They need to be a castle unto themselves.
You mean like their own department?
Yes.
Not a cabinet department, but maybe like the EPA or some other independent agency, because before they were under DHS, they were under Treasury. Yeah. So, but under Treasury, they Treasury never interfered with them because
They need to have one goal, which is guarding the president. Period. Guarding important targets. Period. And
Right.
nothing else. No other political considerations. Nothing.
Hunch Dirty Roofer for $10 says, Watcher, in regards to cleaning out the Secret Service, I agree with you. Dems need them to keep themselves safe, so they need to clean the rot out. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Secret Service is one of those law enforcement agencies that I think should exist. That being said, I agree with Watcher that it's got to be fenced off in the kind of the most complete manner that we're able to. Though we don't want them to become a Praetorian Guard. So it's kind of like you got to have a balance there.
No, look, I disagree with that. With the Praetorian Guard was the Praetorian Guard because the Praetorian Guard was taking political orders from on high from different places.
The problem with the Praetorian Guard, Watcher, is that Praetorian Guard started picking the emperors.
Right. And how was that decided internally? Largely by who paid them the most money or gave them the most political favors.
But they were going around killing people who wouldn't pay them. You know, it's kind of like they'd pick 3 people and hold an auction. One of you wins, 2 of you die, right? I mean, that was kind of...
Gotcha.
You read about Pertinax sometimes. He was one of the emperors that didn't last long.
Will do.
Well, to wind it back in, why did we pull them out from under Treasury in the first place and put them under DHS? Wasn't it largely because Treasury said, no, leave the Secret Service alone?
9/11, man.
Yeah, all federal law enforcement got pulled into DHS after 9/11.
There's a part of me that says that just on principle, we need to basically undo every 9/11 change to our government. And we can figure out what we can put back afterwards. But we need to literally just say, hey, there were fences in the middle of this field that we didn't understand and we tore down, and we need to put them back up right fucking now.
It just take it all away. Take it all away.
Mm-hmm.
Watcher is right.
Guys, this has been a great discussion. That's why I haven't tried to turn any of it off. I was thinking about transitioning away from this topic about 20 minutes ago, but like I said, it's been a good discussion, so I haven't stopped it. That said, it means we're not going to be able to get to our second topic of talking about Israel's widening campaign against Yemen. Real quick, guys, just as a kind of final hit on this, give me your kind of just first takes, general take on Yemen, the Yemen strike over the weekend. I mean, basically, this was in response to the attack on Tel Aviv, where one was killed by Yemen drone. Pete, start with you. Give me your thoughts.
It's interesting that many in the national security apparatus or the sphere are saying that Israel, did what the U.S. military has been, I guess, hindered or restrained from doing.
Failed to do, kept from doing.
Kept from doing. So
yeah.
And what I kind of postulate is more of a lack of capacity or it's because of being so stretched thin with so many geopolitical hotspots around the world.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of really driving I think that's what's driving the decision, or the inability to do such things.
Sean, thoughts on the Israeli strike in Yemen?
Don't care. Why are we involved in a Semite civil war?
Well, we are not involved in this attack, but yes, you're correct. Ron, your thoughts? I know you got a little more background on this whole problem. Hey, let me ask you a question. This may not be a question that you could answer. Were you involved in any of that 90s business, either on either side of the Yemen border? Back then, I think it was South Yemen.
He might still be on his phone call.
Okay. He's away from the call.
Yeah, that's a good point. Many people don't realize how far back this civil war goes.
Yeah, well, so yeah, Yemen used to be Yemen and South Yemen. In the 90s, I know we had some. Which sniper is the real sniper?
That's funny.
All right, there we go. We will remove that sniper. Yeah, this goes back a long way. I mean, ultimately, my take is that Israel's not playing around, and they're going to just start rubbling anybody who fucks with them. They are done, and it's just a matter of time before they if you're on their bad guys list and you decide to do something stupid like kill Israelis, you're asking for it.
Well, because cooperation with the will and whims of the international community has gained them so much in this respect up to this point.
Yeah. I want to get Ron's take on this. I know, like I said, Ron's got a little bit of background here to share. So, real quick, but while we wait for Ron, let me just kind of go around. Actually, let's talk real quick about one last time to talk about the Shield Field Days. We'll be doing 2nd to 4th of August. It's coming up in about 2 weeks. So if you are coming, that's great. We're looking forward to it. If you are, make sure you go to the website and sign up. You save $10 by signing up in advance. What are you sharing there, Watcher?
Breaking news. There have been at least 2 very large groups of caravans headed to the U.S. border because people are afraid that after he's no longer elected, the border will be closed. So expect an incredible flood of this.
Well, these are just people we're going to have to kick out on their tailbones once the new administration comes in.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, of course, it's going to be covered as here's another caravan. For the GOP are talking about another caravan.
Well, Pete, it's been interesting, and I've been talking to people, both longtime Trump supporters and people who are not even really big Trump supporters, and there is pretty universal support, at least anecdotally with the people I've talked to, about, yeah, we should do that. We should kick all of them out. Who cares? And especially with people who are U.S. citizens with foreign or some sort of immigrant background.
Yeah,
look,
that poll that came out not too long ago that showed significant support, more than 50% majority for deportation, and of course people went just crazy.
I hate to be the wet blanket here, man, but look at how many on our side had a problem when we were going after the jobs of people who were directly calling for political assassinations. How do you think the wails and screams are going to be when they show Hispanic families with their children being drug out of their apartment complexes? Do you think anyone has the fucking stomach for this?
Yep, Watcher's not wrong. That said, Scott has a point about, because my second job, I literally work with a descendant of Mexican immigrants who nightly says build the wall, literally.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is I think you don't go to the mattresses on the first weekend. You just start with the low hanging fruit, right? You start, you get the easy ones out of the way. I mean, maybe that's 5-10%, and then you start going hardcore.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen, though, Scott, is that you're right. They're going to say, hey, we'll go after the criminals. But what's going to happen is that you're going to go after a criminal, and then that criminal, it's going to turn out, is going to be living with people. And they're either going to be charged with harboring a criminal, which is a fair and just charge, or they're just going to be investigated for their own thing because they happen to be living with him. And so even though it's true that the father, committed a murder or literally was robbing people at gunpoint, that's not what the media is going to show. They're going to show his family being evicted from their home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already happening here.
Well, but here's the thing. I think there is going to be some level of tolerance for that.
I think
I think
correct among some portion of the voter base. You're absolutely correct, and I'll tell you how it'll break down exactly. Anyone who has either been directly affected by it or has family members or friends who've been directly affected by it will understand the necessity and will say, right on, keep going. Anyone who has not and just has friends and colleagues who are a little bit leftist that they're kind of friendly with and they want to maintain friendships with, those people worked up into a frothing lather.
Yep. I mean, all of these stories of Lehigh man does this, and you find out it's an illegal alien, or American Fork man does that, or Spanish Fork man does that, and these are all illegal aliens. And simply saying, "Gee, why are you doing this?" newspaper or KSL, because KSL has been doing a lot of it, has unleashed a torrent of infighting inside the quote-unquote Republicans here in Utah of racism. So Watcher's exactly right.
Joshua Clark in the chat says, as a former immigration lawyer, he agrees with me.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hey,
I am too. I think it needs to happen. Like it flat out does. I'm just telling you right now, be prepared for the reaction when it comes and be ready to spin it on its head. Because if you don't, they're going to roll you with it.
Yeah. The one thing that could be a monkey in that wrench is the amount of black community that's pissed off currently about immigration and where they fall on it.
Guys, last thing that I want to talk about here is this clip that I just saw. This is pretty interesting. This is kind of JD Vance and Trump's take on kind of what happened over the weekend. Not this one. That was just for fun. That's the ear-piercing video that Brandon Herrera posted over the weekend. This Colin Rugg one, the one at the bottom there, yeah.
And I will say, guys, people have been asking Joe, myself, multiple other ballistics and marksmanship experts are getting together to do a hilarious dunk on the dipshit ballistics experts that popped up on the internet over the weekend. But it takes time to put that kind of council together, particularly when so many of us are traveling to events. So it'll be a little while.
Yeah. Well, and that'll be a topic of discussion. Probably we'll do at least in person for sure, and maybe on one of the live streams that we do from Camp Ponderosa next week.
Just thought it might be fun to get a bunch of Marines on board and do teach you guys our literal ballistics courses, and then with that knowledge proceed to dunk on them. But here's the last one. Oh, oops, sorry.
Share.
Yeah.
You did investigate the people that hid Joe Biden's condition?
Well, I think somebody has to look at it. Look, you had people that lied to the American public. And I tell you what, you ought to take a look at his doctors, because his doctors keep giving him this wonderful report. I'm not a doctor, but I saw him the other day, was unable to get up the children's stairs going into Air Force Ones.
Is it a coup against Joe Biden?
Sort of, yeah.
I think it is. I mean, look, there's a constitutional process, the 25th Amendment. If Joe Biden can't run for president, he can't serve as president. And if they want to take him down because he's mentally incapable of serving, invoke the 25th Amendment. You don't get to sort of do this in the most politically beneficial way for Democrats. If it's an actual problem, they should take care of it in the appropriate way.
You'd invest.
Agreed. But unfortunately, when we framed the 25th, if I'm not mistaken, when we framed the 25th, it was during a period that the vice presidential candidate was the runner-up, wasn't it? Or am I thinking? No. The 25th is way more recent than that. Never mind. I think the 25th.
Yeah, it was. Years old. It was kind of downwind of Kennedy.
Yeah. All right, so guys, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you guys. Thanks Stan for showing up, Joe and Ron, all three amazing dudes. Glad they could be here, and thanks to the council who stuck with me. Pete, final thoughts going into the week?
Well, I just didn't know if this was covered. I remember something about it, but Harris is giving a briefing at 11:30 today. So I don't know if that started. Shit. Going into the week, I need my S2 will of predictive analysis for that one because I have no idea where this is going.
I know it's who knows, right?
Yeah.
So the networks have it pegged, but the feed is live.
Okay.
But it's just the placeholder.
Okay. Is it an anti-podium?
Yeah. So any moment now.
Okay.
All right. Sean, what about you? Going into the week.
Man, everybody keep your head down because a Democratic Party civil war is going to have a lot of people caught in the crossfire once the actual nutty Marxists get on the ground. And we've got a month of this shit. Buckle up.
Yep. Watcher.
Keep your eyes peeled for the Obama camp's choice.
Michelle.
To be revealed. Probably not. No.
I'm
Michelle, but probably not this week. I would say. I think they're probably going to let Harris do her thing for a little while because it doesn't hurt them. She's not going anywhere. She can spin her wheels as much as she wants. Let them stand by. I think probably the other side of this that they're doing behind the scenes is that they're trying to coordinate funding because they have to go up against the funding of Harris. And so they're not just trying to get a candidate ready. They're also trying to get at least some amount of funding ready behind the scenes without word going out. So,
guys, that's all I've got for today. I appreciate you all for being here in the chat. If it wasn't for the chat, we couldn't make this happen. So thank you very much. Thank you to all the very generous contributors of the super chats. You guys keep the lights on. So thank you very much. We're entirely user supported. So even little super chats help make us be able to do things like the Shield Field Days, which we have coming up on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. No promises, but we may have a Derby Pie sighting at that location. We shall see. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you would, hit the bell for notifications, share the link out there with your buddies, let them know you're getting good info from the Council on Future Conflict. We try hard for you, so we appreciate you guys trying hard for us. Thanks so much, and as always, stay safe.